8-bit to 24 frames, building franchises for the screen. Please welcome Story Kitchen founders Dmitri Johnson and Michael Goldberg for a conversation with Dallas Dickinson, Tasha Hu, and John Gaudiosi about building game adaptations for the screen.
So we're going across the way.
So we're going this way. You go that side.
Right.
You already missed the direction
nice
about how we
awkward
walk to
start.
chairs.
They gave us instructions and we promptly ignored them.
This is why we're not doctors.
It was very clear how we should walk to our chairs, just pointing that out.
Thank you,
There were
Doctor.
clear instructions and we did not follow any of them.
Think we're ready.
Hello, everyone. I'm John Gaudiosi, president of Moonrock, and today we're going to be talking about 8-bit to 24 frames, building franchises for the screen. Before I was on the marketing side at Moonrock, I was actually a video game journalist for outlets like The Hollywood Reporter and Variety. And my focus was, back then, they called it the convergence of Hollywood and games. Nowadays, people, not Dmitri, but people out there like to say transmedia. But it's great to have
Don't like that word.
It's great to have this panel because these are some of the leaders in that space. I'm going to quickly walk through them, and then we're going to jump into some questions. So right to my right is Dmitri Johnson. He is the founder of DJ2 Entertainment and co-founder of Story Kitchen. Next to him, we have Tasha Yu, the writer, creator, showrunner of the new Amazon hit series, The Mighty Nein, and writer, creator, showrunner of Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft for Netflix. Then we have Mike Goldberg, formerly a literary agent and currently co-founder of Story Kitchen. And then last but not least is Dallas Dickinson, formerly of Crystal Dynamics, the game developer behind Tomb Raider, Perfect Dark, Legacy of Kain, and he is now with Story Kitchen. So I've been saying Story Kitchen a lot, so we're going to start by asking Mike to explain, for those who don't know, what is Story Kitchen?
Oof, I don't even know. John, thank you. And thank you to ESA and to iicon for having us here. So Story Kitchen is a film and TV production company. And we specialize in an appropriate topic for today, which is adapting video games into film and television. We're a 3.5-year-old company. We launched based off of Dimitri's yeoman's work of DJ2 Entertainment. And Dmitri launched DJ2 Entertainment 20 years ago and was also focused on video game adaptations, except Hollywood didn't care. And that was the big fight that he waged for years and years until our friend, the Blue Hedgehog, came about. And when Sonic 1 was released theatrically in February 2020 and was both a box office and critical success, the entire scope of game adaptations essentially changed. And we iterated off that for Story Kitchen. And so for us, it's working with games from yesteryear that are decade or decades old. It's working with games that are shipping right now. It's working with games that aren't announced yet or aren't even with the publisher. They're still under NDA, they're stealth, but really being that best-in-class partner to help transition these fantastic stories from interactive to narrative. And it's with the indies, the AA's and the AAA's, now even with UGC. A lot of the speakers that have been up here today and yesterday, we have the pleasure of being in business with EA. We have multiple properties with Hazelight, with Split Fiction as a movie that we sold last year, and It Takes Two as a movie we sold 2 years ago. Through the UGC ecosystem, without stepping on it too much with non-disclosed information, we are doing the Grow a Garden movie, we are doing a Steal a Brain Rot movie. Really across the board, it's been fantastic. And so for us, it's finding amazing partners, amazing writers and showrunners and filmmakers and actors to help us transition the space. And it's funny being on this panel right now as the Story Kitchen way to be inclusive, and being inclusive with the devs, being inclusive with the publishers, and being inclusive with Hollywood. And Tasha with Legend of Lara Croft for Netflix, like Story Kitchen writer showrunner that we've had the pleasure to now tell 2 seasons of TV with. And Dallas, who we brought over from Crystal Dynamics, Tomb Raider animated, Tomb Raider live action, and now we get to work with him internally. And John with Moonrock, as a former game journalist and working with a lot of the game developers around the world, works to also find stories for us to bring in. So across the board, like with Dmitri and with our entire team, Story Kitchen is adapting games to film and TV.
So Dmitri, Mike just referenced Sega, but can you kind of walk us through the pre-Sonic to now experience when it comes to Sega?
Sure, yeah, I mean, we're talking 100 years ago when that first conversation happened in Tokyo, and I would say Sega was as skeptical, maybe too far, but like they were as unsure as Hollywood about whether or not anyone would care. Would there be an appetite? And when people ask us now, like how we find IP that we go after or any project, we selfishly say we're trying to make stuff for ourselves. And that was the conversation around Sonic. Is I know that people like me would very likely go see a well-done Sonic movie, and those people probably have kids now. Do your job right, kids come, they won't know the games, but on the other side, they will want to know the games. And that was kind of the big idea. Fast forward, the gentleman at the time who I had that first lunch with about this big idea in Tokyo, he was solely their head of legal. Fast forward, he's still their head of legal, but also our producing partner on all things Sega that we do. And, from the trust that we built in that project, we're doing Streets of Rage. And Streets of Rage was the one that I wanted from the start. But it was like, Sonic was the gateway drug to get Streets of Rage. And we're finally making that come true. I almost broke news that I think
We do have
maybe
news
breaking
coming,
later.
though.
There will be news, I think, until some
Any
point
day?
this week
Any
about some exciting talent around that one. But greatest video game soundtrack of all time, like it's gonna be a banger. But then we're doing Shinobi, at Universal, Toe Jam and Earl. Oh my God, another.
Wait, do we have news coming on that too?
We do.
Okay.
Exciting director on that one. Arguably one of the most exciting franchises that we can't talk about that we're doing as a series, but all that to say, it was the get elected, earn the trust, build the trust, and then, do more together. And that's kind of carried through, with all of our partners. It's, show that we can be good partners. I'm going to go off script, mostly because I don't remember the script anyways. That was my first meeting with Dallas. I went to meet the Crystal team under the notion that we already had Tomb Raider. So I'm going in with a pep in my step, doing a skit, like we got Tomb Raider.
You also weren't coming in to like impress, like it very much like backpack rap kind of vibe, where he sort of shows up in a hoodie and is like, "Hey man, we're gonna do this thing together."
Yeah, I was like the and the room was icy cold, and not just because of the air conditioning. And like within 10 minutes, I'm like, "Oh wait, not only do we not have Tomb Raider, I don't think they want to play with us." And we ended up spending a couple of days just filling up whiteboards and again earning that trust. Like, I won't get into details, but Hollywood used to operate in a different way where they would kind of put developers and publishers in a corner. And we were like, no, that's foolish. Like, you guys are the brains behind this. We want you in the village. And that was kind of the foundation.
Yeah, and again, it acted sort of as though this was a process that you had done before. I don't think it was, where that 2 days we spent together.
No, we actually adopted that process afterwards.
Exactly. This sort of became the way that we work together, and
Yeah.
it's one of the reasons why I became so enamored of working with these folks was we sat down and we broke down, like, this is what the franchise is. This is what it has been. This is what it could be. Here are all of the things that have been mistakes. These are all the things that we love. These are the pillars. But it was something that we, as the IP holder, had never really done in a full, like, build out a Bible of what this should be and could be. And it turned into a wonderful document that we could share with Tasha so that we could have a real creator say, I see what you're going for here, but now I'm going to bring myself to it. I'm going to bring my take to it. But it was sort of the guidebook that also built the trust between us, Story Kitchen.
And going completely rogue, sorry, John. Tasha could speak to the fact that although we did that and it was a great tool, she was then able to come in and kind of like, okay, this is my interpretation on the IP and communicate with you guys directly about here's where maybe I want to do something different. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
Yeah, I mean,
I think the first email said, Dallas, you're an idiot. Here's why.
yeah, exactly.
he had a perfect SAT score. He's like,
A lot of my emails start that way. Sorry, Dallas. Yeah, I mean, as a writer, as a showrunner who loves video games, always has growing up, Coming into something like that, I do appreciate that you guys did that document. You could tell that you did a lot of work, but I did kind of come in and say, yeah, I know all that stuff about Tomb Raider. I know what makes it great, but like, this is what's gonna make it great in the next phase, right? This is what's gonna make people care about it who have never seen or played this game ever. Like, I want my mom to fall in love with Tomb Raider, right? Because when I was a kid, she'd tell me to stop playing Tomb Raider so I'd go outside and play, sports and touch grass. But I'm gonna convince my mom, who's 60 years old, to, love Tomb Raider. And that's really what my job is to take video games that in some ways are a very niche thing, very big thing, but it's a very niche thing, and bring it to everybody, which is about finding story, it's about finding what we care about, and what, like when you play Tomb Raider specifically, what are you emotional about? What makes you cry? What makes you lean in? What makes you laugh? What makes you go and tell your friend about that thing that happened? And those are the things that I hang on to and try to interpret into TV or film.
And when it comes, sticking with Tasha, when it comes to the first 90 days, can you walk us through what that process is like when you have an IP that you're going to work on?
It's a lot of that. It's trying to figure out what was the thing about it that made me care enough that I called Dmitri and said, I need to be a part of this franchise, right? What is the thing that I know other people are going to be so emotionally invested in, but I cannot get them to pick up a PlayStation controller? Let me just show you then instead. I don't know what kind of crowd this is, but like, round of applause for people who play D&D. Anybody? Yeah, okay. So I also did the Mighty Nein, which is based off of a Dungeons & Dragons campaign.
Just the number one show on Amazon.
Number one show on Amazon.
No big deal.
But like, if you've played D&D, you guys know that game is totally bonkers. It's absolute chaos. It's defined by its chaos. So then how do you take that and actually tell a linear narrative so that people who have never played a game of D&D can cry about it, can laugh about it, the way that we do around the table, right? And that's what the first sort of like 90 days is putting your head down and trying to figure out how to make other people care about this thing that you love so much.
And Dmitri, when you're wearing the producer hat, what is the first 90-day experience like for you when you have an IP that you love that you're working on?
So I mean, Mike touched on how we'll do Christmas, past, present, future. For the stuff that I would call the future, because where most people in Hollywood want to wait until they have like a count on how many copies or units something sold. Like, we don't care about that. Like, we care about the story and the world and the characters. So we've had like games sent to us that's still like gray boxed. Like, there's a certain French game that won every award last year that I think we started with just like a script, music, art, no game yet.
Big script.
So like, we're not afraid to, base our decisions, our instincts on just like what they're creating. Like, we want to fall in love and fully understand what that thing is that they're creating internally. And then if it's even like, legacy IP, like, we'll try, like we're doing, I'll try to be good, a legacy 80s sitcom as a big live action movie right now. We go back and we watch the series that's available on all platforms just to like really understand that and then figure out how we can bring that in like a Sonic into a new generation while still respecting the old people like us who, love the old version. So that's the first 90 days deep dive. Dallas kind of talked about once we do the deep dive, we want to spend time with the partner and really kind of map out, the franchise, or if it's a key character is this, it's not this. If they have a plan for, further games, like where our film or TV series can fit into that, and just really be on the same page.
Yeah, and it's got to be very different. I'm sorry, but it's got to be very different when you talk about these games that are brand new or games that have just hit versus these games like Tomb Raider that have this lengthy history and in some cases a contradictory history, right? And so that process of adaptation with Tasha, we kind of had to talk about how do we respect all of the fans? Because what this really is about is our love for these games, for these various IP, but making sure that we respect your love for it and your love for it. And everybody's version of some of these older games, their favorite version is the one they played first, right? And how do you honor that, but still make it relevant to a modern audience in the way that Tasha was just talking about?
I think a lot of it is having people like us involved, meaning you guys are such genuine fans of video games. And so at every level now, I think, like, unlike 10, 15 years ago, at every level we can have people who grew up playing video games, who genuinely love video games, being a part of making those video games. And I think that helps with that fan service, because as a writer, you're certainly not trying to think about, like, how do I service the fans in this? You know that you are a fan, and if you service the things that you loved about the game, you will do them service as well. And that's a big part of, I think, what we all do because we're fans. And I think that's just such a cool new part of where Hollywood is, I think, starting to go.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
I think we were recently quoted, and it's true, of we have bought many a film, TV exec gaming devices. One of our go-to partners, we bought all of them.
Yep. All. I mean, even if you
We
think
want them
about
to play.
This week, while we're at this awesome conference, we are out with our Planet of Lana movie. And we're pitching the movie to buyers over Zoom this week, to film studios and streamers. And our Planet of Lana came out in 2023. Planet of Lana 2 came out last month. I know Wade Rosen is up next. He owns now Thunderful, the publisher of Planet of Lana. Wishfully is the game studio. And for the level of inclusivity and connecting the dots with, like, super fans that want to tell great stories. Yesterday, we had a pitch in the morning, and the co-creator in Sweden was on the morning pitches. And then yesterday, late afternoon, we had another pitch, and his co-creator from Australia was covering it because of the time zone. Our star to play Lana of Planet of Lana, Amber Midthunder from Prey, opens up every pitch mentioning that she played Planet of Lana twice before committing, like, start
in
to
a single
finish.
weekend.
And we got her the game code a couple days early before Planet of Lana 2 came out. And our writer-filmmaker, Angus MacLean, who comes from the Pixar camp, like, dissected the games to the point where it's like cinema school every time we're on one of these pitches. And it's like, we've got the game studio there with us. We've got a wildly passionate writer-filmmaker, a wildly passionate star actress, and we're able to bring this energy to these meetings so that we could find the right studio partner to.
And this is really the process. Like Split Fiction, we go after them for every project. We never get them. Wernick and Reitz, who wrote the Deadpool movies, they say no to everything, but this one they sparked to. Before they would commit, they insisted on playing the entire game. And Sydney Sweeney, we got her an early copy of the game. She played it all the way through with her brother. So, like, when they're showing up on these pitch meetings, like, they're speaking authentically about their experience. And, like, you're not going to get that every time, but when you can, like, it's the way we think you can get to, like, you know, those, like, chef's kiss, you know, of an adaptation.
And I think it's the two-way respect that I think is also really, really important, because what you're describing right now is these creators and studio executives who are being brought into the fold of what are video games and really, really understanding them and respecting and honoring this form of storytelling. But I think also the people who make the games are being educated, and I put my hand up as, like, you all educated me in the process of, like, right, but what do you need to not hold so tightly, Dallas? Like, what do you need to listen to a creator like Tasha and go, oh, yeah, I know that directly contradicts the thing I told you should never do, Tasha, but it's actually a better idea. And the reason we were holding on to that is not actually valid for the future of this particular game or this particular IP. And so getting that dialogue between these folks who spoke different languages is, I think, a lot of what you all have been doing, and I think other people we've seen talk, that's what they've been doing as well.
So, Dmitri, what does a franchise build right in 2026 look like, say, 5 years from now?
It looks like one that because we see it all the time. It's the accidental franchise where something comes out, no one expected it to work, and now you're trying to quickly reverse engineer, like, oh no, we always plan to do this and this and this and this, and you can see it, you can smell it. So for us, we're always thinking about, like, you can't guarantee that something's gonna, you know, become a franchise. You can't. I mean, some things don't need to be a franchise, but, like, you can at least kind of blueprint out that in success, you know, these are the different ways we can work together. And again, not to, like, beat the same point, but that starts with the same exercise, you know, that we did with Crystal, where it's like, you know, perfect world. We might one day get to do live action film, live action TV, animated this, you know, games and that. And then you have a blueprint. And that doesn't mean, like, it can't shift and it can't change, because it's all fluid. But it's just like, considering these things in advance and thinking about, how, again, in success, and if you're fortunate enough that you can go and execute.
And Mike, can you kind of talk or give us the single biggest reason a video game to Hollywood deal falls through?
Well, there could be several reasons, but honestly, the biggest, and I saw this as an agent, like how this kind of partially came together, was I signed Dmitri and repped him for several years, and thanks to Dmitri, like he put me directly in the line of fire with these deals and with these devs and with these publishers. And basically, if you are not bringing in partners who understand how to break through the three biggest issues of Hollywood legal is very different than game legal. You're dealing with cultural barriers. I cannot tell you the amount of times we've had a Hollywood partner accidentally offend a Japanese partner, and then you're dealing with linguistic barriers. So if you refuse to bring in agents, lawyers, knowledgeable producers for film, executive producers TV, if you try and do it yourself, either from the game perspective, I'm just gonna approach it from the game perspective, you're gonna make a really raw deal and become one of those case studies where it's like, remember the time that Hitman got stuck at Fox and can never come out? Yes, that was a bad deal that shouldn't have been made. Or the deal's gonna blow. So really, it's like, we joke about this often, that we're in the education business with lots of patience, because it's constantly educating our partners to bridge these differences, because Hollywood is like the only sector in the world where when you're doing a licensing deal, we actually don't call it a licensing deal. We use really onerous terms like an option purchase. Like it comes across crass and finite and infinite, and that's not actually the case. So it's not arming yourself with the teammates and with like the gray hair and the enthusiasm you need and trying to do it yourself, or bringing people that just don't understand the business.
I'd also say from a writer's perspective, a creator's perspective, when I've seen deals fall through is when studios aren't talking to the developers and they decide they want to make one kind of movie that has nothing to do with the game, but seems to fit like what their studio tends to do. And then they pitch that to the developers and they're like, that's not our game, that's completely unrecognizable. So again, it all really goes back to finding the fans who are also very good at adapting, because I've definitely seen deals fall apart at that level as well.
Yeah, and Tasha, I was just going to ask what game developers and publishers should know when working with a Hollywood writer.
I mean, I think one, try to find genuine fans of the game, although per Dmitri's story, you can certainly make fans of the game. But I get a little wary when I see writers come to an IP and say, I'm gonna completely abandon all of it, and this is just a method for me to tell my mother-daughter story. And it's not a mother-daughter story, like find a different IP for that. What about the IP is so beautiful, that inspires you so much that you wanna retain that? And maybe you're also telling your mother-daughter story, but find a way to do it within this IP that really makes sense. Because I think there are probably plenty of nerds in this room. We have all seen a lot of movies and TV shows that have come out that were clearly not written or produced by fans, and you just feel it. You just feel like it's fan service. It's not really someone who is invested in it. So, I mean, I guess the short answer is find someone who really cares.
And Dallas, I have an easy one for you. What is the future of video games?
Future video games. It's a really easy question. Well, I think, honestly, anyone who was here yesterday knows the answer, which is I think we're all going to be competing for the Strauss-Zelnick hiking mods to put onto like that's clearly the way that games are all going. This is
Grand Theft 7.
That's Grand Theft 7. There it is. We've talked about a lot of this up here a little bit, but it's also a theme I've seen throughout the last couple of days. This form, right, this video game form, is first of all, it is both art and entertainment, and also maybe we should stop dividing those two things into categories. It is all of a piece, but it is a way to tell stories that brings different people, different communities, different generations together. And when we talk about franchises, right, and having different ways that they express themselves, like, this is what we need to be doing with games. One of the things that kind of blew me away joining Story Kitchen, because I had just been working with them on Tomb Raider, big IP that's been around for 30 years, right? And that has its own set of challenges, some of which we talked about. And when they explained to me grow a garden and steal a brain rot were things that they were working on. My first thought was like, well, that doesn't make any sense, right? But I'm a very old man, and so I had to really wrap my brain around the fact that like people get engaged in IP. They get engaged in these experiences, but they get engaged because they're emotionally exciting, right? They touch parts of your brain that are really, really compelling, and you want to be part of that world. We are finding ways to now adapt them to bring more people together and bring more people into this overall blended ecosystem, which is kind of the whole point of this iicon conference, is the way that all of these technologies, all of these different threads actually meld together.
Yeah, to tag into that slightly, I do feel like the future of video games is also sort of outside games as well. It's finding ways, I mean, kind of what you're talking about, right? Finding ways to bring people who watch television into the game. You've never played a game before? Doesn't matter. You're so invested in what you just saw on Netflix that you absolutely want to check out this game and download it. And then also there's something that pops up on your phone, and maybe it's a mobile game, maybe it's a vertical, maybe you go to some theme park and that's connected to a video. Like, it is going to be, I mean, transmedia, we all hate that word, but it's going to be everywhere. And it's all going to point you back to games and shows and all of that. It's all going to be a part of it.
And Dmitri, can you give your opinion on the future of video game adaptations?
Adaptation right next to transmedia. We're looking. You kind of said it in a way. It's not adapting. It's an interpretation of that thing you felt that made you want to reach out to that developer, publisher in the first place. There's this game, and if you've ever heard me yap my mouth, I probably said it and you heard this. Game came across mostly because we're BAFTA voters, and it was there and had an intriguing piece of art, game called Drifter out of Australia, 2-person team. It's like, oh, check this out. Completely got sucked in. Music was banging, like this like crazy Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, smashed like by way of John Carpenter. But then it's like this tragic family drama underneath all that. And like it's one of the few teams we didn't know. We tracked them down and it was just like, you have to let us like bring this to a larger audience. Like it was such, like you just felt such different emotions playing that. So as we're looking at that, it's like, we don't want to do a one-for-one with what they did. I mean, they did a very cool throwback, point and click computer game. We're obviously going to bring that into live action film. But, in terms of like where we come in, it's how do you capture those feelings you had, the vibe of that world, the music, that's how we kind of look at these things. It's, no disrespect, but like just doing a one-for-one of the thing that was already done so well, that's less exciting. More about how we can interpret, in whatever format, film, TV, comic, graphic novel, whatever that is, and kind of bring something, fresh that hardcore fans can love and enjoy, moms can love and enjoy. And we're doing it right now in real time on Life is Strange, Life is Strange, probably one of the most passionate fan bases of all of our projects. And we absolutely keep them in mind as we're developing this, but we also keep in mind that we have to make something that works for a larger audience as well.
And that was another example of a project that took a little while.
Took over 10 years.
Yeah.
Sonic took over 10 years. Apparently that's my thing.
So there's a lot of passion involved.
I just heard Chris Nolan, it took him 10 years to crack, Interstellar. So you're fine. You're on track.
and to note, producers don't get paid until something is greenlit. So that's 20 combined years of working for free. Not that I'm a martyr, but I'm just saying.
And we're basically at time. So I wanted to thank everyone for a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you. All the way around?
Yeah, we're going to exit too.